Good evening. I would like to welcome you to today's conference on behalf of the EPFL Alumni Chapter of Geneva. My name is Patrick Pax, and I will be your host for today's conference. Before introducing our speaker, I would like to share some news regards our activities in Geneva. Nous avons eu l'idée d'organiser la conférence de ce soir afin de maintenir un certain contact avec vous avant la reprise de nos activités en présentiel au mois de septembre. Et nous en profitons de vous proposer un sujet d'actualité avec l'intervention du PDG de Swoxid. Concernant le programme de nos activités pour le reste de l'année, je suis heureux de vous informer des quelques activités suivantes. Le 28 septembre, nous organiserons une visite du laboratoire d'aérodynamique de l'école d'ingénierie à Genève, suivie par un dîner. En octobre, nous ferons une conférence sur la reconstruction du site de Palmyre en virtuel. En novembre, nous aurons notre assemblée générale que nous avons malheureusement dû annuler en mars, donc nous la ferons en novembre. Et en décembre, nous aurons notre traditionnelle fête de l'escalade. Et nous avons aussi l'intention de vous proposer une activité surprise début septembre dont nous vous informerons dès que cette activité sera confirmée. Well, so far so good. Now let's speak about today's conference. As you may have seen in the invitation, we will do today's conference in English. Even though the conference is organized by the Geneva chapter, we have members joining from other chapters as well, so be our guests. Now I would like to greatly welcome Endre Horváth, who has kindly accepted to share with us his inspiring life story. When we prepared for the conference, I was amazed when Endre told me how his childhood experiences influenced his later career. From a very early stage, Endre recognized the impacts of environmental pollution, which influenced his later academic career, becoming a researcher and then an entrepreneur. Today, Endre is the CEO of the startup Swoxid. This evening, Endre will present his curriculum, then his company, and the innovating technology that they have developed. In order to make the conference as interactive as possible, we have decided to split the presentation into two parts. In between each presentation, we will run a survey. And should you have any questions, please ask them via the chat function, and we will address them either in between the presentation slots or at the end of the conference during the Q&A session. Now, before giving the floor to Endre, we would like to start with the first survey, which will also allow you to test the functionality and to get familiar with the tool. So we may now display the first survey, which is basically the question is to which chapter you are belonging to. So please feel free to answer. Are you in any of the Swiss chapters, or are you even from another chapters outside of Switzerland? So we give you 20 seconds to answer. Please make sure that you participate. So I see we have 3 people from Geneva, 3 from Bern for now, 9 from Valais, 1 from Swiss Oriental, and then 4 people joining from elsewhere. So I see that not all people have answered yet, so we give you 10 more seconds, and then we will share the results. So I see that there are still some people voting right now. 2 more seconds. And I suggest that we share the results. Emmanuel? I think that something has gone wrong with the results because there were more people that voted than which are being displayed. So we have somewhat an equal participation from the different chapters. And then there are also some people joining from elsewhere. Having said this, I would now like to give the floor to Endre. So Endre, please go ahead and share your presentation.
Thank you very much, Patrick, for this kind presentation. And we would like to thank the opportunity to, do you see the slide? First slide?
Not yet.
Now?
Yes,
now it should work.
But
exactly. Thank you very much for the opportunity and to present our journey until today during this event, the Geneva chapter. And so basically who we are. Today, the core team members are together. They are with us and listening the presentation. The startup Swoxid is anchored to the group of LPMC headed by Professor Foro. And today is with us Lydia, Claude, and myself. And as you have asked us to present in the first presentation a little bit earlier things happening with Swoxid. So basically in Swoxid, what do we want to do? We developed a new filtration technology where we would like to sterilize air and water. But where the entire Swoxid idea comes from, if you asked me why I became scientist, then basically the answer is that when I was a child, is it working?
Yeah, it is working, yeah.
Yes, so I was born here in this ex-Yugoslavia, now it's called Serbia, in the northern part, as a Hungarian minority. And the landscape looks like this. So it's a flat land, and in a small town of 20,000 inhabitants, where the land is fertile and the main industry is basically agriculture. So we see this kind of landscape where we go there, the crop is very good quality, as well as the fruits are very good quality. And as a child, not only me, but many other people in the region, they are already doing basically food technology. This country is still not member of the European Union, so many families are doing fermentation and distillation of this alcohol called palinka, rakia, or in French, l'eau de vie. And this is basically a very good disinfecting agent. It helped me many times when I was traveling to avoid some problems due to contaminated water of food, as well as it was teaching me how to deal with reactors, because we see on the picture that these copper reactors where the entire distillation is happening, it's not easy to operate and not obvious, but as a child, we already learned to be near these kind of machines. And this is the building where I lived, and it's on the 3rd floor. So basically when I was a 9-year-old child, I asked my parents to have a dog, but they said no dog at the 3rd floor. Therefore, I got another idea. I said, okay, if I cannot have a dog, I want to have a falcon, because the falcon will be on the roof outside, no problem with hygiene. And then I was telling this story to my friends on the playground, and by luck it happened, it turned out that they were member of the local ornithology club. So as a child, from 9 years onwards, I joined them, and we were organizing excursions. We were going to nature around the city. We knew all the lakes, forests, and fields there. And basically we were capturing different types of birds, putting rings on their leg on their leg to study their migration. And I can tell you that during this kind of hobby, you see beautiful things in nature. So you just start admiring nature, even just in the neighborhood of a small city. However, afterwards, this notion, basically I started to photograph everything and document, but we were not seeing only beautiful things. This was also happening in front of my window, basically, because I lived near the river, water pollution. This river this river connects many countries, and every year brings a lot of plastic. And this kind of pollution happens every year. And sometimes even more severe pollution happened due to human industrial activities. As we see that the entire river turned silver shiny because of that fish. So that was the notion that I said that, okay, I want to have some profession which is linked to solve environmental problems. And as a secondary school, I went to south of Hungary to Szeged, and I continued at the university as an environmental scientist. At that university has one Nobel Prize winner who discovered the vitamin C. And at that university where I was first introduced to photocatalysis and these semiconductors and the entire technology basically behind of Swoxid. After finishing my PhD, I landed as a postdoc at EPFL in the group of Professor Laszlo Forró at LPNC. And as all researchers know, what is postdoc life? So we are conducting experiments, we are writing scientific papers, and I had a chance to work with a lot of colleagues, visitors, students, and staff. These people who are on the screen, it's probably only 4 or 5 times more. I couldn't find all of the names. And my daily job was to create materials, new materials. The philosophy of the laboratory is that from nano size to maxer size, one should synthesize new compounds. And if it's possible, these compounds are useful for something. And in case of Swoxid, this is the case. So this material, we always, as a scientist, we believe in technology, and we think that with that one, we can help to make the world a better place for the environment. And so that's basically this aerogel, which is the basis of the Swoxid filtration technology in this barrel. We scaled up over the years the production to kilograms per month, which allowed thinking about a startup and industrialization. We made little prototypes, water purifiers, and later larger ones, because we got the feedback that with the small one, nothing is realistic. And motivated students were always working on this technology. Another connection to water from some of the members of the team is that we are in water because our hobby is swimming from our childhood. And we joined the local club as well, and we did nice activities, for example, crossing the lake for some charity. And during these activities, or just being a swimmer or swimming in swimming pools, we see that the water pool with swimming pool sterilization is also an important issue. This picture was taken in Rio 2016 in the Olympic Games, when the high jumping pool turned murky green within one night because of an algae bloom. And they didn't, so even this happened, this was because of not good sterilization. And if this happens at the Olympic Games, so you can imagine probably everyone, if you have your own swimming pool at home, that the water quality is not obvious to keep in good shape. Another occasion what happened to us was about 5 years ago in Lausanne. We were volunteering and the monopool swimming pool was closed, and they put in quarantine for a couple of hours because of a virus outbreak. So this virus was a norovirus, a highly contagious virus, but all these basically occasions show us that water quality is not only a problem of a third world, but it happens also in the modern world. And next to science, we had the opportunity to start entrepreneurship trainings in the local ecosystem. So really this canton and the entire Switzerland is a nice place to do tech transfer and innovation. We had a chance to participate in boot camps. We had a chance for coaching and acceleration programs. And we were happy to get some local and international innovation prizes, which allowed us to move with the technology further. This is a picture from last year where we participated in Mass Challenge Acceleration Program. And this was basically an event, as you see the number of density of people, a socializing event. So here the point was to get close as much as possible to everyone, an icebreaker event. So I hope that our technology could help to deal with this COVID crisis, and then we can capture these kind of pictures soon and and socialize again. So with that one, I would like to thank you for your attention.
Okay, thank you, Andre. We now have a short break where we will do a survey in order to get your input on certain questions that we have for you. And then we will go into the second part with Andre, where he will explain or present Swoxid and explain the technology that they have developed over the last years. So, Emmanuel, can we pull up the survey and go into the second question? The question is about what kind of mask you are currently wearing when you go outside, when you go shopping, when you go on public transport. As in more and more places in Switzerland now, it's becoming mandatory to wear a mask. Are you wearing a disposable surgical mask? Are you wearing a washable closed face mask? Are you wearing a disposable N95 mask or any other type of mask? And the second question that we have that we also ask you to answer is whether you're wearing a mask in other places than the obligatory environments. For example, on the street, on public areas, outside, are you wearing a mask? So we give you a bit more of time to answer those questions. I see that most of the audience have already answered the first question, and we are waiting for some people to answer the second question. So we can give you 5 more minutes. Sorry, 5 more seconds, not minutes, seconds. So for those who may not have seen, there's a second question, if you may just answer that one as well. 2 more seconds, 1 more, and let's share the results. So what we see is that the majority of the people are using a disposable surgical mask, 52%. And then the next one is the washable closed face mask. And then some people are using N95 masks. And then in terms of other places, so almost half of the people say that they do not wear a mask outside of the mandatory place of where the mask is mandatory. And then there are some people wearing a mask on the street, some people in the working place, and then it really depends on the situation for some 30% of other people. So very interesting. Thank you very much for your feedback. This will be very useful for Andre to focus his speech for the second part of his presentation, which we start now. So Andre, you may share your screen.
Thank you, Patrick.
You're welcome.
So originally with Swoxid, our mission was water sterilization and sustainable water sterilization. So we want to help to the people who are still in this kind of situation, that they are forced or they are drinking surface water contaminated with germs. So viruses, bacteria, and other germs. And according to the WHO, the numbers are not good. Yearly, almost 500,000 people die just because of diarrhea, and 300,000 out of them, they are children below the year of 5, younger than 5 years old. So what is our core technology? Our core technology is this nanoporous ceramic aerogel, what you see on this picture. So basically, this is a very fluffy foam. And this very fluffy foam, ceramic foam, is composed of tiny, tiny nanowires. You see on the right side. And on the left side, you see the structure of these wires. So these wires are belt-shaped and they are layered. And in between the layer, we have the technology to put silver, copper, or zinc ions. And these ions are known to be bactericid, and some of them are supposed to be virucid as well. So they are able to kill and inactivate bacteria and viruses, even in the dark, just the action of these ions. So as we have mentioned in the previous presentation, the scale-up was a very important, crucial step to convince potential investors and to convince technology people that we can do something, because if the material is too expensive or we cannot produce in high quantities, then some technology, they fail because of that. So this part we have sold over the years at EPFL. And when we are processing this special aerogel, we ended up with this kind of filter membranes. And these filter membranes are nanoporous, photocatalytic, and they have antiviral factor. Originally, we have implemented these filter membranes into water purification panels. And these water purification, water sterilization panels are special because they are not just filtering the surface water, but they are killing the germs on the surface of the filter. So the operation is very simple. It operates with gravitation. One should pour the contaminated water on the top side, the water flows through, and on the other side is germ-free. Now, what is happening that we need sun, but there is nothing, there is no electricity production, so it's a very, the filter has tiny pores, just as the best commercial filters nowadays. However, unlike the commercial filters, these filters not just filtering out bacteria and viruses, but they are killing them on the spot. So that's the extra function. That's the most important property. And as you see on this image, on the contaminated filter, if it's illuminated with sunshine, then it becomes clean. So it's a kind of self-cleaning filter. So how does that work? This is the semiconductor photocatalysis. If we simplify things, what's happening that the filter is decomposing the surrounding water molecules, which are always present even in the air. And these fragments of the water, these reactive oxygen species, they will attack viruses and bacteria, everything what is organic, everything what is alive, and then eliminate them. Now, chemically speaking, these wide range of reactive oxygen species, they are depicted like this. But what you have to memorize is this is basically not else than hydrogen peroxide. So our filter is producing hydrogen peroxide if it's illuminated by UV light or sunshine. Hydrogen peroxide, we may know because it's a very efficient hair bleaching. It oxidizes the brown hair, and the brown hair becomes blonde. And it's a very good disinfecting agent too. So this is what's happening with if we treat an orange colored water with our system, it becomes gradually transparent, and the end transparent. Over the years, we managed to build demonstrator units, and lately, because of the thanks to the Swiss African Research Corporation, we got a little grant, and we could install demonstrator units at the Stellenbosch Water Institute in South Africa, where we could conduct the first test, real world test in terms of that real water was introduced into the demonstrator units. And as you can see, this is the water before and after, and that's some very promising microbiological test where we could efficiently eliminate enteric and fecal coliform bacteria, which were not regrowing after 6 days neither. But there was a big but. In January, the COVID-19 has affected everything in our lives as well. All our plans basically were impacted, and the execution as well. And in the same time, we heard all these kind of pictures were shown in the media, and this we've seen all over now is still all over the media. So the big question is that the current technology is a single-use respirator and mask, and if there is a shortage, how we can sterilize them, whether with UV light, whether with chemicals. And the big question, there's still a debate around how many times are these devices safe? Should we do this in terms of when there is a shortage and pandemic or not? Other little problems might be of the single-use mask is the environment problem. If billions and billions are used per day and many pieces per day, then they may end up other places than the trash bin, and they may cause the classical microplastic pollution what we were discussing before the COVID crisis. These pictures are just from Lausanne, what I took in the last couple of days. And the other thing could be that they very often offer only one-way protection and loose fitting. So during the COVID crisis, EPFL was locked down, and we could continue our R&D by really doing kitchen and terrace R&D. So during the conferences, we always mentioned that this is a technology replicable in a kitchen. So this was now the time we were forced to really do it in a kitchen. Here you see one part of my kitchen where we are producing the filter, and a very good friend and ex-colleague Balint in Geneva, where this is the do-it-yourself place in his terrace, and he put together a system to measure the airflow and the particle filtration capacity of such a filters. So this is how we survived, because everything, all the facilities were worldwide closed, so we couldn't continue with the R&D, and people were asking to send the filters and specifications. So we came out with the first prototype of such a 3D printed antiviral face mask, which we estimate that it's reusable up to 1,000 times. And the extra feature why one would use 3D printing. 3D printing is not advantageous if we think about mass production of billions of pieces with the same shape. However, 3D printing would allow us to make really custom fit designs and have a mask which perfectly fits on that person's face. So where we are focusing, we are focusing on the filter. We hope that the nano-sized pores of our filters will efficiently block all the viruses, including the COVID-19. And with the photocatalysis section, what I was just describing before, the filter will produce hydrogen peroxide. So unlike the commercial plastic-based filters or masks, this filter adores UV light. So we cannot damage it adores. It's even beneficial for this filter. And the UV sterilization technology is growing as a market. The investment on the classical UV sterilization is increasing, and our masks are perfectly, they fit into, with that strategy, because they can be easily sterilized if we illuminate the mask with the UV lights. So wearing a mask, now it looks like that is not a question, but another important question, how to wear a medical mask safely. This one is still not obvious, and probably the people who are saying that mask wearing is not advantageous, they are afraid that we are wearing a mask on our cheeks, sometimes on the biceps, sometimes we see it on the car. What happens if we are having a coffee or a phone conversation? So with the mask, which are contaminated to the virus, we may contaminate the environment, or this might be the vector of transmission. So what we propose that once we remove a mask, the Swoxid mask is put into this kind of UV sterilization box. It's a little electronic box, what you charge with your, like your phone. And once you close it in this box and it stays there 10 minutes, then the mask is safe to use again. And it will kill all the viruses, not only the viruses, the bacteria and fungi as well, because we may have additional effect that the mask will start to smell, or other germs will multiply on it, not the COVID, because COVID will not multiply on it. So all in all, what we have is, we think we have one of the next generation. We have the technology to build the next generation filtration mask, which are nanoporous. They are photocatalytic. They contain virucidal ions. They are also washable, so with the classical soap. Heatable, even with hot water, so they are pasteurizable. This ceramic is very robust. So therefore, they are reusable. And the key is that it's ceramic, not a plastic, which is the current technology. So with that, currently we are trying to launch really and take off as a startup. We are in early stage. We are looking for investors who will help us to accelerate and make this thing happen. So with that, I will thank you very much for your attention.
Okay, thank you, Endre. We have already a couple of questions that we have seen on the chat. So please, for other people, if you would like to ask your question, post it on the chat, and we will raise it. So the first question that we have got, Endre, is whether the Swoxid ceramic filter is recyclable?
So that's a very interesting question. And what I can tell that the ceramic itself is recyclable in a way that the old ceramic, after it's used by 1,000 times, we plan to collect those masks. These will be high-end masks, so people will have an intention to send us back. Maybe they will get money back. And then the filter material, we can put and use it as a raw material again in the synthesis of the ceramics. So in these terms, yes, it's recyclable. It's for a ceramic, we don't think as for the plastics, but yes, in that way, we may collect the filters and inject them again into the synthesis procedure and turn them back again to the same ceramic.
Thank you for the detailed response, Andre. Before we looking at the other questions that we're seeing on the chat, I would like to go back to the survey. So we have two other questions that we would like you to answer. Emmanuel, may we just display the survey? So the first one is about the storage of the mask. So where do you store it after, for example, leaving the bus? Do you store it in your bag? Do you store it in a closed plastic bag? Or do you throw it into a bin? Or any other options, something more creative? And then the second question is whether, when this mask from Swoxid will be available on the market, what level of price would you pay? Would you pay 130 francs, 140, 180 francs? So please answer these questions. I think it can be very useful for Andre and his team to get a better idea of what people are ready to pay for. I mean, considering that nowadays a disposable mask costs more than 1 Swiss francs, well, it's easy to make the calculation. So we have about half of the people who have already answered the questions. We give you 10 more seconds, and then we will close the survey. Two more seconds. So for the last people, last opportunity to answer the questions. And so we have 70% of the people who have answered. So I would like to suggest that we now share the results. And if Andre, if you can see the results, would you like to give your opinion, your feedback on the results that you are seeing?
So if I see correctly for the first question, the answer is that the majority of the people put the mask in their bag.
Yep.
And then, okay, here the question is whether the question was specific enough. So that in this case, it means that people are putting directly the mask in their bag without a coverage or a plastic bags, so next to the phone, next to the other objects which are in the bag, or maybe the question was not specific, because exactly this is the question what we are asking, that if the mask, even the disposable one, we reuse it for 2-3 hours many times, what do we do in between the buses, the shops, and where do we store it? So yeah, this is something what I would like to understand even on a larger level, because this is what we would like to solve. That not only the mask, but the storage. I think it's very important. Where do we put these masks during the day? If we solve that problem, then we may reduce that the masks, they become vectors of transmission. For the second question, the lowest price won, right? 41%, the lowest price. So this is a price, what we foreseen together with this little sterilization machine, not just the mask. So it's mask plus the machine, or it's a little UV box where one can put and store it inside during the working hours, during the coffee break, and even the everyday's activities.
Okay, thank you, Andre. We have some other questions that we would like to ask you. So thank you for giving your feedback on the results of the survey, and many thanks to all the people on the call for having participated to the survey. So let's now go into the other questions. So we have got another question which is related to the price tag and when the production, because people may be interested in knowing when this could be available in the market. So when do you foresee the production of the mask, Andre?
Well, if I would speak with my heart, then tomorrow, but we are not there yet. So first we need to certify the filters. These are the next steps. But imagine if the certification is successful, then the production, we would like to do it here in Switzerland, at least the aerogel and the filter. And then depending on the strategy that we are nowadays focusing on the filter itself, and we would like to provide these filters to other producers, for example, specialists in 3D printer. Many people, many companies, they have their own design, very good design, very innovative things, but they require new types of filters. And there are not many new types of filters appearing on the market today. So we foresee the production of the aerogel and the filter production here in Switzerland.
Yeah, and that is in line with the question that we got from Lianik. He, first of all, Andre, he congratulates you for the brilliant idea that you have to produce such a mask. And then he asks whether you would like to keep the whole production domestic or whether you plan to offshore the production to optimize it. But I think you already partially answered this question, but you may.
Of course, this is just the beginning. So we are really early stage, and in terms of this, the things are not like straight, and if there is an opportunity to partner up with large corporations and accelerate, the goal is to provide these masks where it's needed all over the world. So this is a global problem. That's why I said that the production first in Switzerland, because we are here. But of course, we would like to go offshore as soon as possible. And if by sub-licensing the technology, this can be possible, or some partnership, we are open to that. Naturally.
Very good. Thank you, Andre. And then we have got another question where a person asks you to repeat the price suggestions for both the mask and the sterilizator.
So the good news is that the sterilization unit, if you Google it, phone sterilizer, many of these boxes will pop up. So the good news is that this is already on the market. It's available, and the price is between 50 francs, between 50 and 100, depending on the brand and probably the battery lifetime. So it's an electronic product similar to phones. That's what we calculated approximately at this price inside. And the price of the mask, depending whether it will be a 3D printed one or a more simple one, we foreseen in this range of 35-55 francs. And we hope that selling price we can fit into that price tag. But again, this will be something a lot high-end, and then the reusability is the unique selling proposition. Of course, if we partner up with other companies who are producing, let's imagine we just do the filter only, and we partner up with companies who are doing everything else, then we have to know what's the price of that, what they are producing.
Okay, thank you, Andre. And then we have got another question of a person who understands that, of course, the longer lifetime of the mask is a big advantage of this mask, but maybe there are also other advantages. So what makes, besides the lifetime, what makes this mask so special? Why is it better than other masks that people could purchase on the market.
So maybe on this question, Professor Foro could give an answer, who is an expert of
Yes,
the photocatalysis and the science behind.
Okay,
yeah.
good idea.
Thank you very much, Endre, for your presentation. And you have already told the most important things concerning the mask material. So the fact that this titanium dioxide is photocatalytic, it means that when the light, UV light arrives, hits the material, then it produces electron hole pairs, and they diffuse to the surface. And on the surface, there's water, moisture, and from this water, they produce these so-called reactive oxygen species, which are free radicals. They are very reactive, and everything which is organic, they attack and destroy. So this is one specific feature of this material. The second is that it has a large dielectric constant. Now it sounds like a very much terminus technicus, but it means that that water can spread very rapidly on the surface. So they don't stay in droplets, but they spread over, and also they capture by that time the germs which are in the water. So this is a special feature of this material, and this is not the case for the currently used polyethylene or whatever plastic mask materials. So this is the main feature. But I want to add a phrase to your presentation, and you haven't emphasized it because you are shy. But the big contribution of Endre is this scaling up the material, the productions. You know, before people were doing this titanium dioxide nanowires, so it's not a new in our scientific life, but they could do only a minute quantity of these materials, milligrams, 20 milligrams, 30 milligrams. And the genius action of Endre is that he could scale up. You know, he can make, or we can make in the laboratory, a kilogram quantity of this in one shot. This is a white bucket, what you've seen on one of his slides. This is his invention, you know, and this is difficult to reproduce. So I think the advantage of the Swoxid and of our product is this knowledge of how to treat, how to scale up materials in order to make a large-scale production. So this is my short answer. Well, longer answer.
Thank you, Professor Foro. And I think we have a follow-up question for you and for Endre. Is there a publication about your technology or about your mask that people could consult maybe online or that they could get from you?
Yes, I can follow up with the answer on that. So we have just corrected the proofs, you know, the scientific paper, which will appear in a week or in 10 days. So it means that we have written up the paper. It has passed the reviewing procedure of experts. So what we claim for this mask is approved, it's accepted. And now a journal called Advanced Functional Materials will publish this paper, and hopefully we have also a press release of EPFL, and all the media will report about this achievement.
Okay, thank you. And then we have got another question from Françoise. She says that she understands that the filter is out of ceramic, but what about the other materials out of which the mask is done that is printed in 3D?
Yeah, thank you for this question. Exactly. So we think that the reusability of 1000 times of the filter itself is not a question, but certainly we need to test whether for example, the silicone or polyurethane or the other polymer-based materials which are surrounding and having as a frame the filter, whether these materials will survive upon 1000 times use. And we are currently trying to do all these tests. So that's exactly how we think that we are not worried about our material, but the surrounding material, and we have to be clever which one to use. Some of them, they are already reported to be quite resistant to UV light. These medical grade silicones and polyurethanes. Just imagine your swimming goggles or intubation tubes in the medical industry. So these materials are quite robustly designed, and we are planning to use those ones.
Let me just add into that this 1,000 times reusable, it's a very conservative estimate. So I think the mask, it's at the oxide and the frame could survive even more usage. I think there's a bigger danger that the mask will break by somebody who sits on the case having the mask than just from the use and to sterilization by UV.
And I think there is a follow-up question on this one as well, which is related to the thickness of the membrane and what happens if it is folded. For example, Professor Foro, you said that somebody will sit on it, obviously that can damage it. So what happens if the mask is folded? Will it be damaged?
So the filter itself is not foldable, a little bit foldable, but as we have seen on the image, it's in a 3D printed frame. So we need this rigid frame to put the filter inside because it's a ceramic and naturally is not foldable. So as long as that is the case, that frame is not broken, the filter will be also in a good position. And another important feature that this filter is a sandwich. It's embedded into other pre-filters. So we have a 3-layer filtration, and this filter is in the middle of in our prototypes. So there is even a protection for scratching, and those pre-filters are easily cleanable materials which are protecting the functional filter from damage.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, may I add, Patrick, just one more idea or one more view of our filter is that I don't know how many of you are watching the TV news, Swiss TV news. So I watch every evening. This is my habit. And there was a report a few days back that the Swiss Army has distributed 1.3 million masks from its reserves. And it turned out that these masks were contaminated by fungus or some germs. So they, instead of being helpful to the population, they were kind of dangerous. So with our filters, our mask, it couldn't happen because by UV, we can desterilize or sterilize all the mask before the usage. So yeah. I think this is one more advantage, one more advantageous feature of our idea.
Very good, yes, thank you. And then there's another question which is a bit goes a bit further. What about the protection of the eyes? It is considered that it will be nice to have also a solution for protecting the eyes.
Yes, everyone has to be careful not to look into UV lamps. So this is absolutely important, and no one should use these lamps outside of closed environment. But this box is closed. So these boxes are designed that the lamp is only switched on once the box is entirely closed. There is this protection mechanism inside. So if someone opens the box, the lamp will immediately switch off. So this, we don't think that it's a problem. So it's really a closed box. In the presentation was an open just for the picture, but imagine that this box is really a box and the lamp is on the inside walls of this electronics. It's powered by batteries, it's charged as your mobile phone. It can be also a power bank in the same time. So people may use this box for other purposes. You may pick up some electricity from this box for your phone as well.
Okay, and what about when people are breathing, can fibers potentially be liberated from the ceramic? This is
a crucial question. And before we do not test this, obviously there is no industrialization. And currently we are running or trying to run these tests. what we know that the inspiration comes from the experiments what we have done with water filtration, and there it was exactly the same question, whether the ceramic is going out from the water filter. And there we run 5-7 tests, and there was no detectable fiber leakage. But the same thing we have to test for these filters as well. There are some norms, how many fibers or they come out, but there are other things when this membrane is broken. So because all the fibers are cooked together crystallographically, when we break it, they do not have a fiber shape anymore. So unfortunately, or fortunately for our safety, but we lose the elongated structure, which is good for this kind of question.
Thank you. And then we have also a question about other companies putting similar solutions on the market. So according to Roland, there are 2 startups, a Swiss one and an Israeli one, who are selling virus washable fabric with metal oxides. So how different will this solution be to the one that you presented today?
Okay, not knowing exactly what startups are and which technologies behind, I might guess. We are also watching, there's now really a lot of innovation happening in mask. There's obviously, and our technology, I think, so if I'm not mistaken, there is no UV involved in the technology. If I guess, then those are fabrics treated with these metal oxides, and these metal oxides will release the copper, zinc, silver ions, which are bactericide and may kill viruses as well. The good thing that in our technology, we have exactly the same as we have shown in the presentation. Our fibers are layer structures, so we can put the same ions in between the layers, and we will have this effect in the dark. This is one feature which is also another protective feature that even without UV light, we may have some antibacterial and antiviral activity.
Very good. And then we have a last question before we close the conference. It's a more pragmatic question. So how difficult is it to breathe through the mask?
Well, I'm wearing the prototype since it's produced. So I'm wearing in the bus, in the shops. And this prototype is not completely sealed on the side. So it's on a normal surgical mask. So I don't have difficulties to breathe, but obviously in that prototype, still the air partially comes out from the side. But for the next generation of prototypes, once we have all these numbers, the breathability, then we'll design it that it should be as comfortable as the normal N95 masks now on the market. So this is our target, to have those breathability numbers, and this is partially material problem and partially engineering problem. So there is a way how to increase the surface area of the mask material if it's needed.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Endre. Thank you very much, Professor, for having shared this great experience today, for having spoken about the technology that you have developed. And obviously it has created a lot of interest, people asking many questions, and I'm sure if we had more time, we could have taken more questions. So just before closing the conference, I would like to express my thanks to Emily from the Geneva committee, who actually proposed this great idea to invite Swoxid for today's conference. And she did establish the first contacts with Endre and made arrangements for today's conference. There is also Emmanuel Yanguas from the alumni office in Lausanne, who has helped us with the organization on the delivery of the conference today, as well as Gabor Marcus and Alexander Kiriotti in the background, who have helped us also with the delivery of the conference. And a big thank you to you, Endre, to you, Professor Foro, for having accepted to present today and to share your story. And having said this, I wish you a very, very good evening, and we look forward to seeing you at the next event. Thank you, and enjoy your evening. Bye.